What's up, everybody? Coach Mark here, and today what I'm going to be talking about are the only 3 exercises that you need to build a big chest. And before you say, well, Coach Mark, what about cable crossovers, push ups, or those Instagram booty band chest workouts? No, stop it. This isn't Pinterest. All right, so with this, we're just going to cut through the fluff. Basically, the same way I cut carbs before my high school prom just to get my biceps vein to pop. Spoiler alert, didn't work. But I promise, by the end, you'll know exactly which 3 lists actually matter, why they're the best, and you'll understand chest anatomy well enough to scare off at least 3 people from your next party. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is bore you with a little education. Okay, we're going to go over the anatomy of the chest and then go from there. All right, so up first, we have the pectoralis major, and this is basically like the big show off. Okay, this is the large fan shaped muscle that basically makes up the bulk of your chest, and it has 2 main parts. So the first part is the clavicular head. Okay, this actually comes from the clavicle, and its job is basically lifting up the arm and forward. So think like incline bench or when you're reaching for snacks on the top shelf. Then you have the sternal head, and this basically comes from the sternum. And this part basically handles bringing your arm across the body and pushing heavy stuff away. Basically like shoving a shopping cart full of protein powder. So this motion. Then the second part of the chest is the pectoralis minor. Okay, so this basically sits underneath. This one basically pulls your shoulder blade forward and down, and basically it's kind of like the introvert of the chest muscles. It works hard, but no one really notices. Yes, and now we have to discuss origin and insertion points. Okay, so the clavicular head, this originates on the clavicle and basically inserts at the humerus, whereas the sternal head actually originates on the sternum and ribs, as you can imagine, and inserts on the humerus as well. So in translation, they all connect your upper arm to your torso, so they're all about pushing and hugging. So the chest muscle's main job is basically horizontal adduction, okay? So moving your arm towards the midline, center of your body. Or in bro science, making your pecs clap. Yes, that's a thing. All right, so now to grow your chest, you're going to need 3 main ingredients here, so listen carefully. The first one is you're going to need some good mechanical tension, basically lifting heavy enough to make those little muscle fibers panic a little bit. Then you're going to have to damage the muscle slightly, and I don't mean injure yourself, I mean controlled micro tears. Basically, you don't want to damage it to the point where you can't lift your arms over the weekend, okay? Then you need some good metabolic stress. And that's basically the burning pump where your pecs feel like they're being inflated like a balloon at a kid's party, except no one's having fun. All right, so our 3 exercises today basically tick all these boxes while hitting the chest from all angles, okay? So your upper mid and lower fibers as well, and basically don't end up with a chest that looks like a pancake slapped onto your rib cage. So the first exercise, and I probably should be fired or examined if I didn't mention this one, but the barbell bench press, okay? Surprise. If the gym was high school, the bench press would be the quarterback. Everyone knows it. Everyone's impressed by it. It's probably peaked in college, but it's still king. So why it works and why I had to mention it first, of course. It's got heavy loads. Basically, it's got maximum mechanical tension. That was ingredient number 1. Also, you can progressively overload very easily with a bench press, and it hits mid and lower pec fibers heavily. And yes, I got to go over proper form as well because this makes or breaks the exercise, right? So first, you want to make sure to retract the scapula. Okay, so this gives your pecs a very stable base. Then you want to grip slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Usually there's rings on the bar. What I like to do is put my thumb on the ring and then grip the bar like this. I know that kind of looks weird on video, but that kind of gives me that shoulder width apart. And then you want to lower the bar to the mid chest, basically your nipple line, and then press up like you're trying to push the bar into orbit. So basically slow down to the chest and then a nice explosive move on the way up. Of course, that is going to change depending on how much weight or how much load is on the bar. Oh, and don't bounce the bar off of your chest. This isn't a trampoline park. The next exercise is the incline dumbbell press, or what I like to call it is the upper chest savior. Now, this one's for the clavicular head, or AKA the part of your chest that actually makes you look like you lift in a t-shirt. Now, why this one works so great is the angle targets the upper pec fibers better than a flat bench. Also, using dumbbells allows you to get a greater stretch and range of motion. Okay, so the form for this one is similar to the bench press, except with a couple different things that need to be changed. Okay, so first off, it's an incline, so you want to set your bench angle at about 30 to 45 degrees, depending on the comfort of your shoulders. And then once you're in that position and you have the dumbbells up, you want to lower them down to your chest until you feel a nice deep stretch, basically right about here. Okay, and then from there, you want to press up slightly, basically kind of like you're hugging a tree. Okay, except pretend the tree is iron. All right, so it's going to come down. It's going to look like this. You're going to come up and then slightly towards the center. Okay. So something to be mindful of here is that if you put your bench too steep, you're actually going to target more of your shoulders, which is fine if you want bolder shoulders. However, we're here for pecs, not shoulders that can basically have their own postal code. And then the third and final exercise would be dips, body weight, or weighted. Okay, so this is basically the underrated chest builder. This is the exercise your pecs didn't know they needed. Think of it as that indie band of chest training, okay? So not mainstream, but criminally good. So why these work so great? A lot of people think that these are for triceps, which the triceps do work in this sense, but the deep stretch at the bottom provides huge hypertrophy stimulus, which is fantastic for growth in the chest. It's also great for lower pec thickness. A lot of times people have a hard time developing the lower pec. This one's great for that. Also, it trains pushing strength in a different plane, which could be very good. Now, to do this one properly, to target the lower chest, you have to remember a couple things here. Number one, you want to lean forward about 15 to 20%, which will target the chest over the triceps. So if you remember before I said this does target the triceps. However, with that slight lean, you're going to get more of a chest variation in there. Okay. Also, keep your elbows slightly flared. Don't keep them tucked in, or that will definitely be a tricep workout. Slightly flared out will actually open up the lower pecs. And then be sure not to lock out at the top. Keep your elbows bent slightly. Okay, so you want to keep that constant tension and keep it right there on the lower chest. Trust me, these work great. And if you start out with body weight dips, that's great. When they get easy, add some weight. Okay, so you can wear like a dip belt or a backpack full of protein powder. Just don't blame me when someone asks you why you're wearing a school bag in the gym. So now here's your big chest blueprint. Okay, so if you want to put it all together to build the chest with these 3 different exercises, kind of set it up like this. Start out with a flat bench press, maybe do 4 to 6 sets, 6 to 10 reps. Okay, nothing too crazy. When you get to the incline dumbbell press, do about 3 to 4 sets, a little bit less, and 8 to 12 reps. Okay, so the reps are a little bit higher here because you're going to get that full stretch. You don't have to go too heavy with these at first. Okay, and then finish off with the weighted dips. Maybe do 3 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps. Okay, remember, if you're doing body weight and it gets easy, add some weight, go from there. My professional recommendation would be to train the chest twice a week with at least 48 hours between sessions, and then focus on progressive overload. So basically adding weight, reps, or better form over time. Okay. And remember, there's no exercise that will save you if you're not eating enough protein. So yes, eat the chicken, drink the whey, marry the cow if you have to. So that's it. Those are the only 3 chest exercises that you basically need. Okay. Everything else is like optional fluff, kind of like parsley on a steak. So if you found this helpful, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you didn't, well, my mom still says I'm handsome. Now go build that chest. And for the love of gains, stop doing cable crossover for 45 minutes. And with that, Coach Mark, out.